Okay, I'm live. I'm just gonna wait for everyone to turn up. It's a really weird time to be doing a live. Anyway, I seem to do a lives on Sunday quite often. So yeah, I kind of like doing it. Kind of a unwind for a Sunday. Well, no one's here. I'm talking to myself. But if you're watching the replay on YouTube, hello. I've never seen Valerie spelled that way before. Interesting, Valerie. Love to know where you're from. I'm here in Vancouver, Canada, and close the blinds because the sun's coming in, so it looks a bit weird light-wise. Anyway, I'm in Vancouver, Canada. Beautiful sunny day here for a change. We've had a rainy time. Phoenix, Arizona. Hi, Mary Green. Like the color. Mary Green, like the color. Mary Green. Oh, okay. So no one's going to put an E on the end of it. Is that why you say that? That's cute. Okay, so where are you from? As I said, I'm here in Vancouver, Canada. Oh, that's how hubby has to say it. That's cute. Okay, I was just out walking. Ontario. Hi, No Name. I was out walking and no one approached me today, but I can always tell when someone recognizes me. I know exactly when it's happened. It's the weirdest thing. They look at you, you walk past them and they go like this. Absolute stare with no self-consciousness. That's when you know someone's recognized you from online. A lot of people say something, but I move pretty fast, so. The thing is, if I go out on a weekend, I get a lot of families out. That's why I'm more likely to be recognized on the weekend. Whereas if I'm out during business hours, not as much. And I just sort of stick to the area I'm in anyway. Okay, so how many people? Very few people so far. That's okay. I'll just get going. And then if it doesn't pick up, I'll just hop over to Instagram. Anyway, my name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on my website, you can see my free behavior board, my courses, coaching. And you can look into the podcast. My daughter and I do the podcast together and having lots of fun doing that. So you can look into that. Most of my clients seem to listen to the podcast because they say it helps to have me in their ear when I'm not talking to them during a session because it kind of reminds them of stuff. Okay. And I just want to say too, no, I won't bother mentioning this. Never mind. It's about coaching. If you already know, you know. Yeah, I can't take any new people on right now. It's just gone crazy. Okay, but you can still sign up for notifications when I do have openings. It might be a month or two. I'm not sure. Okay, so let's get going with your questions. So let me see here. And I answer the most recent questions first to make sure you're still here because people pop in and out of lives all the time. Okay, this is Rianne. How to deal with 3-year-old and 1-year-old twin. 3-year-old and 1-year-old twins. You've got 2 sets of twins. Always taking toys, pushing them over, etc. Ooh, boy, I don't know. I would be setting up systems. I'd have a toy rotation. I'd also have some very clear rules about taking toys away. And teaching children how to share is harder than teaching them how not to grab stuff out of someone else's hand. And you got 1-year-old twins. You just have to get the 3-year-olds to play separately from the 1-year-olds. There's no way you can teach a 1-year-old not to grab something. It's unreasonable. Okay, I have a 4-year-old and a 10-month-old. My husband is a natural leader and sort of alpha when it comes to parenting. I'm a stay-at-home mom and spend most of my day with the kids. Oh, there's no question there. I was waiting for the question. Okay. Oh, here we go. How do I get my 4-year-old to respect me when he is not around? I'm not a natural leader and she loves to argue with me all the time. For example, he's at work right now and she won't sleep. Watch what he does and maybe imitate it, or you can look into it's a big picture thing. There's a whole bunch of stuff you have to do. You can start with the behavior board. That's the training wheels with all this stuff. It's free on my website, BratBusters.com, and it's the behavior board. And you start there. It's just the training wheels with everything I teach. And also look at the pool story. It's a video I did a while ago, and it just Google BratBusters pool story. It'll come up. And it sort of encompasses the method that I teach, I deal with bad behavior, then I focus on the good kid. I focus more on connecting with kids rather than disciplining them. Okay, I'm just waiting for more questions. If it doesn't pick up here on Facebook, I'll move over to Instagram because I do have a lot of work to do tonight. I leave a lot. I try and have I just do my scheduling once or twice a week. So I answer a lot of emails Sunday night. That's sort of my time. And then during the week, I try and keep up with some stuff that's pertinent. But anyway, so yeah, I'll be doing emails. Why did I mention that? Oh, yeah, so I haven't got a lot of time. So if the questions don't pick up, I'll just move over to Instagram. Okay, Cincinnati, Ohio. Hi, Britain. Hi, Brittany. That reminds me of my daughter. We were doing a podcast and my daughter said, oh, this is whoever, Joanne from the United K. Instead of, she just mixed it up. She was thinking UK, but she said United K. So she got teased about that a lot. Oh, and I did something really stupid yesterday. It's going to come up in a future podcast. Boy, will that one come up. We do tend to film the podcast in advance, so I don't know when it'll come out. But yeah, I did something really stupid. It's with my son-in-law, something I didn't know was a secret, and it was around his birthday. Yeah, I messed up. She didn't tell me it was a secret. Anyway, it'll come out. Oh, geez, I really flubbed. Okay. How do you deal with bedtimes? Cried out? Depends on the age. Yeah, I can't answer that if I don't have an age. I feel like my 3-year-old is ungrateful. How do we teach him gratitude? He's obsessed with treats and just expects them. You've built that. It's a sense of children who have a sense of entitlement are never grateful. So you've spoiled them. That's usually what happens. Like if I gave my kids a treat, it was so rare and it was never as a result of them asking for it. I said, if you ask, I'm just filling a demand. But if I surprise you, then it's a treat. So yeah, I didn't spoil them. And they had no sense of entitlement. If they asked for something, I'd say, well, now you're not getting it for sure. They knew that, so they never asked for anything. But they did get treats, but it was my call. So, and they were very grateful. Okay. Actually, I'm going to hop over to Instagram because I am really short on time and it's not flying here in Facebook. And I don't have a lot of questions to choose from. So I'm going to move over to Instagram. It's usually pretty busy over there, and TikTok. So anyway, my name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. You can go to my website, BratBusters.com. You can see my free behavior board, my courses, my coaching, and you can look into our podcast. My daughter and I do it together. It's called BratBusters Parenting. Okay, I'm hopping over to Instagram. Happy parenting. Bye now. Yeah, I'm just too busy right now to not have a big audience on here. I've got to, you know what I mean? I feel like I'm wasting my time. Okay, I'm just yabbering to you, YouTube. It's the social media platforms. Those are my big ones. YouTube's great. I think I've got about 25,000 followers or something, but I've got like a couple million followers on social media. So that's where my biggest audience is. And YouTube isn't social media. YouTube is a search engine. It's actually not social media. Because people don't chat on there. It's not a connecting kind of thing. Okay, so let me see. I'm just waiting for everyone to turn up. Everyone turns up pretty fast on Instagram. I usually wait till I get 100 before I start yabbering. Okay, almost there. See some familiar names. Okay, there we go. Got 100 now. Okay, so let's get going with the live. My name is Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. I'm a mom. I'm also a grandmother. If you go on the website, BratBusters.com, you can see my free behavior board, my courses, my coaching, and you can look into our podcast. And my daughter and I do that together. Okay, we've had to do some disclaimers recently. One was my microphone. I did an upgrade, a software upgrade on my computer. And then it put the volume down on my microphone. We didn't know that was going to happen. So that messed up. And then one day my daughter was just really low energy. She had her business cap on. She didn't really get into the podcast. So we had to do a disclaimer. I hope we don't have to put a disclaimer before all our podcasts from now on, but just like 3 of them in a row that we had to do disclaimers for. Okay. And by the way, put an age down. Oh, you did. Okay, good. Oh, that's a different one. You have to put the question and the age together. Sorry, I got my neighbor's dogs right there. My neighbor right next door has 2 dogs, and they hate another neighbor that has 2 dogs. If they're in the same vicinity, it's war. And they're all little dogs. It's kind of funny. Okay. I've spoiled our 3-year-old. How do we undo that? You just stop spoiling them. They're only 3. They're very pliable. They get it. Just stop spoiling them. When they ask for something when you're out, and it's not like a necessity. Yeah, if they ask for water or shelter, then yeah, you give it to them. But if they're asking for treats when you're out, and if you spoil them with toys at home, you're not doing them any favor. They're going to be very self-entitled, and they're never going to be satisfied. They're always going to want more, 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 more. So they're never going to be happy, basically. So you're not doing them any favor. 3-year-old doesn't listen to parents at all. Solution. We're never fixing kids. We're teaching parents here. You're just not a leader. So you got to work on your leadership skills. The training wheels and all this stuff is my free behavior board. It starts at the age of 3. It also has a toddler section on there. So just start with that. And it's rules and consequences for every member in the family on the behavior board, so long as they're 3 and over. And that's how you start getting respect. Yeah. So it's not the kid. It's never the kid. You've trained them. You just don't get, you don't do anything to get respect. I earned it. I work for it. You got to work to get that respect. It doesn't just get handed to you on a silver platter. You got to earn it. You just haven't earned it yet. It's a tell. It means they just don't respect you. So you can fix that. Okay. So I'm just scrolling ahead to make sure I get so make sure you're still here when I answer your questions. A 3-year-old only wants mama, even if daddy is closer. I would just say you're stuck with dad, so deal with it. That's what I used to say. My kids tried that once or twice, and I said, you're stuck with dad, so deal with it. Like, I didn't give in to that demanding. It's kind of a demanding thing. They will survive. You know, they had a good dad. My ex-husband was a good dad. Yeah, I remember it happened when he was giving them a bath once, and I heard one of them say, I want mommy. And I yelled out from the family room, you're stuck with dad, so deal with it. And then another night they said the same thing, and he said, you're stuck with me, so deal with it. They learned. I can't be manipulated. I'm not at your disposal. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't just snap your fingers and get everything you want. They had a loving mom and a loving dad. So sometimes they're going to get dad, sometimes they're going to get mom. Can you implement a mini behavior board before 3? No, because everything has to be right in the moment. Toddlers under the age of 3, I consider a toddler 16 to 35 months. And that is consistent corrective action. They learn through repetition. They don't stop and think before they act. It's repetition. They learn if it's happened like 50 times, then they might learn. It's all repetition. It's more like a knee-jerk reaction kind of learning. It's like they might touch a hot oven 10 times, but they'll walk by and they won't touch it on the 11th. They don't even always know why. They just won't. It's like that kind of learning. So it's repetition. But you got to be consistent. If you're not consistent, it doesn't work. So that's why I always say pick your battles, do one at a time, 1 per week or until it's fixed. So because if you're trying to correct everything, it just gets out of control. 7-year-old still poops her pants. I don't know what the cause of that is, but I never, ever, ever discipline for bodily functions. That can mess them up. So yeah, and I clean it up. So yeah, I don't know what's going on there. I'd have to assess the situation kind of thing. Daughter turns 3 next month. We'll say, I don't like grandma or her cousin or daddy or sister. Oh, okay. You're not going to like my answer, but my kids were used to me. I didn't take any crap. If a little kid said that to me about someone, I would have said, well, they probably don't like you either. That's what I would have said. My kids would have gone, ugh. Well, they wouldn't have said it in the first place, but you know what I mean? Like, I don't take that crap. It's just trying to manipulate. Well, they probably don't like you either. I remember once this little boy, he was about 2 or 3, and he came over to my place. He didn't like dogs. And he said to me, you should get rid of your dog. I don't like it. And I said, I'll tell you what, I'm going to keep the dog and get rid of you. How's that? He was not used to being talked to that way. He didn't say it again. And I said it in front of the parent too. Couldn't help myself. Felt great. Imagine that kid coming over telling me I should get rid of my pet because he didn't like it. parents didn't step in, so I had to say it. It just had to come out. Okay. Oh, I don't let anyone in my lives. I only did it once years and years ago. And it was when I first started doing lives and I didn't know how to get rid of them because all they were doing, I've got a big audience on here, and all they were doing, they just wanted to sell to my audience. I was horrified. That was my biggest live ever. And I was brand new at it. And I had about 26,000 people in the live. And this person came, I let them in. I didn't know what I was doing. I was new at it. So I let them in, and then they tried to sell to my audience. I was horrified. I've never let anyone in since. That was probably 2 years ago. We have an 8 or almost 9-year-old with bad attitude. How do we handle it? A bad attitude, when you're a leader, they tend to have a good attitude. So that's an attitude. You can never address an attitude. It's as a result of them not having a leader. Usually when they have a leader, they usually have a good attitude because you bring out the best in them. That's what leaders do. You make kids feel good, you bring out the best in them, and then they have a good attitude. Okay, so work on your leadership skills. And the attitude, you never address it. It's the last thing to, like if they've got bad behavior and a bad attitude, like to me, a bad attitude isn't bad behavior. It's just a sign, means you're not a leader. So, but it's the very last thing to go away, and it happens organically once you're a leader. You've got to earn your leadership medal first, whatever it is, and then the attitude will go away. Almost 5-year-old is rough with 1-year-old. Just say, quit roughhousing with the baby. And if they do, there's a consequence. Put it on the behavior board. That's the rule. Check out the free behavior board. It's on my website, BratBusters.com. Yeah, just put it on the board. Yeah, this isn't going to work, Ann. This is Anna Lambert on YouTube. I have a 3-year-old boy who, when I tell him it's time to pick up toys before bed, and he has 10 minutes, I tell him if he doesn't get them picked up, he loses a favorite toy for 24 hours. We have done this for several days, and he doesn't want to pick up. Yeah, it's not going to work. I probably wouldn't do that at bedtime, for one thing. They're kind of tired. I would do it maybe between dinner and bedtime. And I would say the rule for him is I would put it on the behavior board. The rule is pick up 10 toys within 10 minutes of being asked to do so. And then if he doesn't, then the next day there's 2 consequences. You get him to do a chore first. If he won't, then you take something away. You went right to the deprivation consequence. I don't do that. I start with the positive action consequence. If they don't do that, then I do the negative deprivation consequence. And you're doing it at bedtime, and it's not really clear how many toys, just get organized with that. So put it on the behavior board, which is free on my website. Oh God, you're going to hate me. This is Tasha Hughes. Grandparent is a pleaser parent. 3-year-old then comes home crying, whining, and tantrums. How do we help the grandparent become more of a leader? You never teach anyone else to be a leader. When you're a leader at home, kids are good everywhere by the age of 3 to 4 years old. So you want to be the leader, but you can try the behavior board with them, but you wouldn't try. I don't try and change people who are looking after my kids. If you trust someone to look after your kids, don't micromanage that. When you're a really strong, calm leader at home, your kids are good everywhere. It's just the way it is. If you're that good of a leader, your kids are good everywhere because they're under your umbrella. It becomes their identity. You bring out the best in them, so they give everyone the best. So work on your leadership skills. It's a bit of a tell. It means you're not a real strong leader yet. What if your kid is well behaved with mom and dad and a terror to other people? How to correct? Sort of the same question. It doesn't make any sense if you're a leader, but then how old? Oh, you didn't put the age. Yeah, I have different answers depending on the age. Someone asked about hitting a kid. No, I don't teach that. Okay. My 7-year-old will not stop yelling in my 3-year-old's face whenever she is upset with him. Advice. Well, you're not going to like this one either. I go after the instigator. Who started the problem? Is the 7-year-old just trying to get rid of the 3-year-old who's actually the problem? It usually is, by the way. It's usually the younger one antagonizing the older one who then goes after them, or the other way around. The one that yells or hits is usually the victim. Usually. So I would assess that and go after the 3-year-old. Say, well, what did you do why were you yelling? I have a whole system around this. So what I usually say is you split the page in two, just draw a line down there, put each kid's name at the top of it, and then you do an interview. And you give them each 2 minutes to talk. You give them an item. This is your talking pen. You can't talk unless you're holding this. Okay, 2 minutes starts now. Here's your pen. Tell me what happened. Bullet point, just write it all down. Okay, 2 minutes is up. Now it's your turn. And then write it all down. You'll figure it out. You probably already know, oh, that's not true. A lot of my clients are shocked when I say that. They say, yeah, he is pesty, but the older one hit him. And I'd say, wouldn't you? I said, no one's coming in to save the day. You're not a leader. You're not controlling the pest, the instigator, the problem, right? You're not controlling it. They're trying to control it themselves. They're struggling because they don't have a leader. The thing is, if there's a leader around, if kids are, rather than fighting, the victim tends to lean back like this and wait for the leader because they trust that the leader's going to come in and fix things. So work on your leadership skills and figure out who is the victim, who's the instigator, who started it, in other words. Go after that one. The other one's probably just like, come on, mom and dad, help me out here. Are you in favor of visual timers? You mean like that? I talk about these in every single session. Timers they're visual, and the reason why schools always have clocks everywhere where you can see, and they have the rules all written out. It's all visual. It's a constant reminder of what's expected of them. So it's a constant reminder of when is lunch. I can remember literally watching the second hand go around. It felt like it took an hour. I can remember that at the end of the day. God, I was so tired once. I don't know, high school or something. And I can remember watching that second hand thinking, tick, tick. It felt like it was going that slow. Anyway, just it's a sideline. But anyway, yeah, I love visual timers. Kids usually like them too. And then if they're older, you can say, okay, starts in 10 minutes. They can set it themselves and, whatever. But yeah, sometimes I've got one family right now that I'm working with, and they have a visual timer for each child because they like to set it themselves. And then they put it down where the parent can see it. So they each want their own. So one has a rainbow, one has something else. What's mine? I don't want to turn it again because the alarm will go. Anyway, is there a way of not having that alarm go? I don't think so. Okay, how to build strong leadership skills, please. It's a big picture thing. There's a whole bunch of stuff involved, okay? So you can keep watching and it'll all start to make sense. But I'll read out my top 3 leadership skills or qualities. Number 1, be calm during the storms. That's when everyone's upset and you need to discipline, you stay calm. It's like a business transaction. 0 emotions when you're disciplining. Number 2, be crazy during the rainbows. The rest of the time, which is what I focus on, is connecting and bonding with kids. That's when you can be crazy and goofy and joke around with them all the time. That's what I did. And number 3, you become a great listener. This is once they're verbal, they're communicating. So you become a great listener. You listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with, or they will shut you out. Yeah. Oh, someone wrote the wrong word instead of fun. I can't go back and check. I get dizzy if I flip back. Yet that minute till the bell rang took forever. Oh God, I can remember that one time. I also remember I used to go out. I used to work at this place. That's a sideline, but I just feel like talking about it. Anyway, I used to work at this great place. We all got along so good. I was like a secretary there, and it was called BC Tel. And we used to go out, it's a telephone company. And we used to go out, it's when they had landlines, and to this pub every day after work, we all went out. We just had like one drink and then we'd all head home. But every so often, like on a Friday night this was not on a Friday night actually. So maybe Thursday night, there might be more people turning up. Someone come in from out of town. So we'd stay out late. I can literally remember getting home at 2 in the morning, and I had to get up at 6 or 7 in the morning and drive to work. Now, I was 18 when I worked there, and I'm 64 now. I can't even have one drink. I would probably have 3 or 4 drinks in that period of time, like after work till 2 in the morning. But oh my God, how did I do that? How did I do that? I was just a mess. But then by the time I got to work, I was fine. Like, go figure. And then we'd go out again after work. That's youth, eh? You can do that when you're 18. How would you manage a 2, almost 3-year-old screaming no to requests? Well, you start with one battle at a time. And if they're almost 3, like within a month, you can use the behavior board. And then you just start with one thing at a time, one thing you want them to do at a time. It could be put your shoes on within 5 minutes of being asked to do so. If they don't, there's a consequence. So yeah, you start small steps. We're building. One of my clients is Southern, and they said, oh, I get it. We're not boiling the whole ocean, are we? We're just 1 teaspoon at a time. I thought that was so cute. And I told it to another Southern client, and they said, oh yeah, that's a common saying. Not boiling the whole ocean here, just 1 teaspoon at a time. What about silent treatment? Our son has given my spouse the silent treatment, and this week gave it to the coaches at school. Any advice on that? I'd be kicking my heels together with joy if he's normally rude and snotty. So, yeah, not really. I don't know his age. I don't know what's going on. I don't have enough information to comment on that. I don't like the fact that they're disrespecting a coach, though. I would say I might put on the behavior board. I don't know how old he is, but I might put on the behavior board if he's 3 and over, put down respect the coach. Listen to what the coach says. If he doesn't, there's a consequence. Uh-oh, I feel like I might sneeze. Oh, goodness. Just getting all prepared for it. What kind of consequences do you give when you can't take away a toy? I don't do that. That's not the first thing I do. I get them to do a chore first. You always start with a positive action. If they won't do a positive action, which is just a chore or something, helping you with something, this is like 3 and over, then you resort to taking something away. So it's usually something like this. If they break the rule on the behavior board, check it out. It's completely free on my website, BratBusters.com. If they break the rule, the consequence is do a chore within 15 minutes of being asked to do so, or 24-hour media blackout if they choose not to do that chore. And it cannot be done in 16 minutes. They'll often procrastinate. The alarm goes, 15 minutes is up. Fine, I'll do it now. And they're all snotty. Too late. You don't have to do it. 24-hour media blackout starts now. Follow through. Parents are trying to avoid scenes, fits, meltdowns, and tantrums. That's because you're afraid of your children, and they know it, and you'll never be a leader. If you're afraid of those scenes, they're in charge. Guaranteed. Remember that kid I keep talking about, that 8-year-old who said, I just met him, and I used to be a behavioral mentor. And he said to me, if you don't give me what I want, I'm going to have a fit. And I said to him, bring it on. And he never did. I was kind of disappointed because I know how to handle that. So yeah, he just knew. You could see he went, oh, she knows what she's doing. He was great with me. He was wonderful. The teacher asked me later on, what did you do? And I said, oh, I just asked him to have a fit. Like, I have no fear of that. Behind every fit, scene, meltdown, and tantrum is a lesson for you and your children. If you're afraid of their fits, they're in charge, guaranteed. They've got you where they want you. Yeah, blackout is no TV and all that. No screens. Hope you're well. Yeah, I was in emergency. I knew when I woke up, I thought, I'm going to be going to emergency today. Yeah, that was last week. So they don't know. They think it might be an ulcer. So I'm on all sorts of medication, whatever. But geez, I'm not bragging about this, but the whole time we were there, my daughter was with me. And the whole time we were there, we kept saying, how lucky are we? Because I was high risk, because any pain in the duodenum area, they think might be a heart attack for a woman. So they kind of rush you through when they think it might be a heart attack. So anyway, 3 hours in and out, had 2 blood tests, x-rays, ultrasound. It was just phenomenal. And, but yeah, we thought, and it's all free in Canada. So I thought, geez, how lucky are we? I just felt we walked home because I live very close to the hospital. And so we walked home, and all we kept saying was, how lucky are we? Just so lucky. And we work together, and we're independent. We can work on our own. So we both can take the time off to go to the hospital. If she was working in some corporate job like she was before, I would have had to have gone alone. So not that I could have done it, but it was just nice to have my daughter there. Thanks, Tabitha. I appreciate that. I don't know if that's what you're referring to. I just felt like bringing it up because I'm just so grateful that we've got all this wonderful free healthcare here in Vancouver, Canada. Very lucky. Oh, I've heard that with Ontario. Yeah. Well, it's different maybe in different hospitals too. I don't know. We went really early in the morning too. I think we beat the crowd. And a lot of homeless people go into the hospital because that's a safe place to go. They go into emergency. Yeah, we do pay tax, but we don't pay additional for medical, like all our doctors, and it's all included. I think we pay about the same or less tax than Americans. But we know we've got a very good healthcare system. And I had that in Australia too. I lived there for 20 years. We did pay for private, but it's not that much there. And it's really good. It's actually a two-tiered system. It was really interesting. So they kind of pressure you if you're at a certain income to pay for private because it takes the pressure off the public system. But the private doctors have to also work in the public system. So it's not like you're just getting the elite medical care. Do you know what I mean? It's a wonderful system. Okay. Anyway, enough about that. Oh, your dad lives in Vancouver. Yeah, I live right near Science World. You're very welcome. Orido, 17. Yeah, I'm going to comment on this, but I don't have a lot to say about it. But I always say that and I yabber on. What do you think of sleep training babies, aka letting them cry to sleep? I hate it. If a baby cries, I pick them up. But I did it with my babies just for sanity's sake. I did it when they were about 10 months old, I think, 8 or 10 months old. And it was hell. I sat outside their bedroom door and let them cry. I went in, the first time I went in after 1 minute. Then I just patted the baby on the back for a few seconds or whatever. Then I left. Then the next time was 2 minutes. The next time was 3 minutes. It really only took one night. And they were up feeding in the middle of the night and they weren't even eating. Like they were just hanging off the boob. They're ready to play. And I thought they don't need this anymore. So yeah, it was rough. I just sat outside their bedroom door crying into a pillow. But I did it. So it's not something that I teach or recommend. It's just more of a personal thing. Like you have to decide whether or not you want to do that. I teach relationship, like that's more medical. Baby stuff is more medical. I do discuss that, how to cope through the baby years, but mostly preparing for the toddler and plus years, right? Because I teach it's more about behavior and relationship. But the baby, just pick them up when they cry, love them up, and that's all you have to do. Or you have to feed them too. You know what I mean? I get this question every single day in coaching: how to control my own emotions when toddler's not listening. That's like if you go to a diet center and then you ask them, well, how do I not eat the chocolate cake? That is your personal challenge. That your emotions are your challenge with all this stuff. I can't help you with your emotions. Usually parents say in coaching, once they start seeing results, it gets easier. But yeah, I can't help you with that. It's like, I remember once, I don't know why this stuck out in my mind. I used to teach fitness years ago. And this one person said to me, I think it was a man, I can't remember. Anyway, and they said to me, yeah, well, once I'm here, it's fine. But how do I get myself here? And I said, I'll tell you what. Typical me. They were used to me, so they did laugh. And I said, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll put my alarm on for earlier. I'll get up, drive over to your place, give me an extra key. I'll come in, I'll slap your face, throw some water in your face, and then I'll drive you to the gym. Would that help? In other words, that's your challenge. That's your job. That was funny. They laughed. At what age do you start ignoring their tantrums and file their nails? By the way, don't get down to the nub and get some blood going. One client who said they've got no nails left. So when they're having a tantrum, I always say you completely ignore them. And it's just like you're filing your nails waiting for a bus. So I start doing that at around 16 to 18 months. But I might do it's a gray area because I do a little bit of diversion, but I call it indirect redirection. So if they are still little and I might go, oh, what's that over there? But I don't invite them. It's indirect. So I might go sit on a couch or sit somewhere and start reading their favorite book out loud to myself. This is if the tantrum goes on for too long. So yeah, I might start reading and the fox jumped over. Wow. And then the idea is they might come over and sit in your lap. If you get eye contact though, or invite them over, their tantrum usually gets worse because they do it for attention. They're going for your reaction. Without that, it tends to peter out. But it takes time. Is there a replay? For these lives? Yes. On YouTube, all my lives are saved, unless I mess up and hit a wrong key. But most of my lives are saved on YouTube. I'm on YouTube the whole time. Whenever I'm doing a live, I'm also on YouTube. I just want to thank for your support. I think it was a couple of weeks ago, we hit 2 million followers across the platforms. So, and that's never taken for granted. I'm very grateful for that. I'm in my 60s now. I didn't expect to blow up at this age. And, but yeah, I'm just shocked. I went on TikTok first, and it was a couple of years ago. And I just stood in front of the mirror holding my camera, talking in the bathroom mirror. And I got like 600,000 followers in 6 months. just standing in the bathroom talking to myself. Yeah, I got attacked a lot too because I was shaking things up, right? And I go against a lot of what's popular out there, and I'm very aware of that. Although I don't know what's out there, but I'm very aware I was shaking things up. You should have seen the hate I was getting. People, my competition was trying to shut me down. Oh, it was great. They didn't realize what they were doing. Every time they talk about me, they help me grow my channel. It's not the brightest bulbs. It was great. That's karma. Anyway, so I just want to thank you so much for that. I do appreciate your support always. Okay. What to do if my 6-year-old daughter is being mad at classmate and then throwing her pencil at school? So I don't know what's going on there. Is her classmate doing something awful to her? I don't know. Is the teacher a good leader? Has she got her finger on the pulse of what's going on? I don't know why she's doing that. But generally, it might be something you want to put on the board. No throwing things at school. Not the brightest bulb. Do you know what happened? Is I started realizing the more they talked about me, how awful I was, the more my followers would grow. Every time they do a post, my daughter was watching it. She goes, you know what? You'll get like 10 or 30,000 more followers in a day if they talk about you. Because these are big parenting people. And so I couldn't stand it anymore. I told them, I was on a live once and I said, you're doing it. You're the one who's growing my channel. So they all stopped talking about me like that. Oh God, I love stuff like that. I thought it was so great. It was so dumb. Okay. So I'm just getting messages from my daughter-in-law here. I daycare my granddaughter Tuesdays, and she's 15 months old now. And she's just, I didn't expect to feel the way I do about being a grandmother, because I thought, well, she's not my kid. She's someone else's kid. But yeah, she popped out, loved her right from day one, just like my own kids. So yeah, it's I didn't expect that, because I thought, how can I possibly love anyone as much as I love my kids? I loved mother. I just loved it. And I just thought, how could you? But yeah, exact same thing. No different, same love. They're doing a great job parenting too. Okay, working from home, consequences hard to take away screen time. What should I do? So you're working from home and you have to use screens to minimize the disruption in your job, I'm assuming. And this comes up a lot. I'm realistic too. I say 24-hour media blackout. Sometimes you can't do that, and that's one of those situations. So you could minimize it. You could say, okay, so you can use this. You can only use the iPad, or you can use that. So if they like the big screen, they could have a smaller screen. Or you could minimize the amount of time. You could say it's going to get turned off sooner, or you can't have any screen time tonight. So minimize it. Or take away something else that they love. The screen time is usually the one we use, but lots of my clients don't even let their kids have any screen time. So we have to find something else. We often invent leverage. If you've been following me for a while, you know what that is. I don't like really talking about it a lot because a lot of parents want to start with that because it's kind of harsh. But if that's all we got to start inventing leverage. If you want me to talk about it, I will, but I don't want you to start with that. Oh, what if your kid could care less about TV, iPad, and all that? Well, then I'm going to have to talk about inventing leverage. Here's how it goes. If you always have two consequences for the kids when they break a rule on the behavior board. So you say, okay, you broke a rule. So, pardon me. The first consequence is always a positive action. So get them to do a chore, just a good deed. So it should only last about 2 minutes, but give them 15 minutes to do it. It's because they're going to procrastinate and yell at you and all that. And that's fine. You're just standing there looking at your watch, waiting for the 15 minutes, right? You're not discussing it. Anyway, and then if they choose not to do that, you say, okay, so let's go back to the board. So you say, okay, you broke the rule, then you didn't do the chore. So now you're going to get 24-hour media blackout. That's basically how it goes. But if they don't care about that, then you invent leverage. You say, oh, it's going to be 24-hour media blackout. Let's say you just wrote that on the board. Doesn't matter. And then you say, I'll tell you what, we're not going to do that, but we were going to surprise you tonight by going out for donuts. Or we were going to surprise you tonight by going out. You were never going to do it, but now this is what you're going to say. We were going to go out to the arcade tonight as a surprise, just, but now because you didn't follow through with the consequence, you're not going. But your dad's going to take your sister there and they're going to go and you're going to stay home with me. Yep. Poop will hit the fan. And you don't owe them that. Well, okay, they have an absolute fit. Believe me, they'll have a fit over that. And then the other one gets to go out and get a special treat because they were naughty. They followed the rules or whatever. So you don't owe them that, though. And this is a lot of parents get pulled into this. But if I'm good tomorrow, I was good all day today. Now can I go to the arcade? No, it was just a special treat. A special treat is not something you request and demand. I don't owe you that. Don't get pulled into that stuff. They don't get it. They do not get that. They missed out. If you give in the next night you take them, they're in charge. You're not a leader. The whole point is they have to miss out. You do not owe them that. Oh, and it's even better if you've only got one kid. It's not as good. If the other kid gets to go out and do that, ooh, it's nasty. They get really upset if their little brother or sister gets to go or whatever. But these are lessons. You want to teach them. You're calm as anything. No anger. Just that was your choice. You chose. I didn't choose that. That was up to you. I used to tell my kids, if your good, life is good. If your bad, life ain't so good. I'll make sure of that because I'm your mom. That's my job. So in other words, be accountable. You're totally in charge of how your life goes. You're totally in control. Totally. My kids got that from the really, really young age. They started to understand that. Okay. I'm going to head over to not Instagram. I'm on Instagram. I'm going to head over to TikTok now. If you want to join me over there, it's BratBusters Parenting. If not, check out my website, BratBusters.com. You can see my free behavior board. What else have I got there? My courses, coaching, and you can look into our podcast. My daughter and I do that together. We're having a blast doing it. It's a lot of laughing at me. I make a lot of mistakes. So anyway, also coaching, I just kind of want to say this now. I can't take on any more clients right now, but you can get into a list where you'll get notified when I'm able to start taking on a wait list again. My wait list is overflowing. I can't take anyone on a wait list right now, but you can get notified when my wait list is open again. So anyway, it might take a month or two. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going over to TikTok. Happy parenting. Sorry, YouTube. TikTok takes the most buttons, and they always start with an ad these days. Oh, good. I was able to stop it. Come on. There we go. Okay. I was doing that the other day with my granddaughter. She's just 15 months old. I was just going, she was just mesmerized. It's a little things. She's little. Doesn't take much. And I was out walking her last week, and I was picking flowers like dogwood trees and all that, whatever, cherry, apple blossoms, whatever they are. But I had to Google everything to make sure it wasn't poisonous. But evidently nothing out there. They don't tend to plant poisonous plants when you're walking down roads and that. So, but yeah, she loves all that stuff. Her whole stroller was full of all these flowers and grasses and branches. I forgot to clean it up before I dropped it off at home. I did warn the parents, but anyway, that's what happens. Okay, so let's get going. I'm on TikTok now. And am I on the right? Yes, I am. Okay. TikTok, Instagram's everyone turns up right away on Instagram. TikTok, I get the same amount of people turning up, but they turn up slower. I don't know why that is. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach, a mom. I'm also a grandmother. If you look at my website, BratBusters.com, you can see my free behavior board, my courses, my coaching, and you can look into the podcast. We do that together. My daughter and I, she works with me, and it's called BratBusters Parenting. It's on all the platforms. We've only been doing it since, I think, November, we started doing that. We're just having a blast. We do 2 a week. 2025 was going to be the year of the book, but the podcast took off. So now we've doubled that, and it takes a lot. I'm coaching every day, all day. So filming the podcast is taking up all my extra time. So, okay. Let's get going with your questions. I love your content here on TikTok. It's helped so much. Excellent. I love that. That's why I love my job. Love it. Imagine having a job where you're improving people's lives. Maybe not everybody's, I'm sure, but I just feel very lucky. I've been doing this for about 20 years now. 18 years exactly, 18 and a half. Okay. My 4-year-old from running off. If you've got any kid who runs off, I would say, I'll tell you what, you can't go running away. You could get hit by a bus. It's too dangerous, whatever. So think of it this way. You restrain them in the car. You want to restrain them when they're walking too, to keep them alive. So I would put a harness on them before we go out. And then I would say, if you take off, you're going to get clipped in. So, and then keep them clipped in for the rest of that outing. It's going to get ugly. And so I would suggest you do some fake outings, places that you don't really care about going to, and try it there. That's usually a quick lesson. They don't like that. I don't blame them, but all you have to do is stay with your parents, and that won't happen. It's all up to them. Okay. Oh, nameless, endless. Cute. Love your work from Australia. Excellent. That's where my kids were born and raised. My son was born in Sydney at Nepean Hospital. My daughter was born at the Wesley in Brisbane. That's where we spent most of our years, was in Brisbane. Loved Australia. I was just thinking about it. I get melancholy about it because I never left Australia because I wanted to. I left because my mother wasn't doing very well. And yeah, I would never have left Australia. I was there for about 20 years. And yeah, I came back. I love Canada too, but the weather over there I love. And but anyway, I came back for love because I love my mother. She died in my arms 9 years ago. She was 93 years old. It was beautiful. My daughter and I often talk about that. How lucky was that? I got to the care home in time. She died in my arms. Her last breath was a laugh. We had a blast together. We were best friends. I adored my mother. And yeah, so her last breath was a laugh. Imagine that. It was a beautiful goodbye. Anyway, very, very lucky. So no regrets coming back. Yeah, my mom, I was adopted. And my mom often said, best decision she ever made was adopting me. And I thought, yeah, you're right. That was. She was my best friend. We were very close. Oh, she died 9 years ago. She was 93. And she was not in good shape. So it was one of those, you know. What age do we start ignoring tantrums? 16 to 18 months, around there. But then you can still use, if they keep going on for too long, you can use indirect redirection. You just go off in a corner somewhere where they can see you reading their favorite book out loud to yourself. Don't look at them though, and don't talk to them. It'll escalate the tantrum. The idea is they'll come over and sit with you and it'll all calm down. When you do lives, I used to do them every single day. I just don't have time anymore. I just turn up when I can. I'm actually procrastinating because I've got to answer a whole bunch of emails tonight. I don't answer emails every day because it's mostly scheduling and I only do that once or twice a week. So anyway, yeah, so I'm procrastinating. You know, if I've got to answer emails, I'll often do if I know I've got tons of them to answer, it's all client stuff. The other stuff, my daughter does all the other stuff. And, but yeah, come on here to procrastinate. Timeouts don't work. Yeah, I hate them. Can't stand timeout. The top 3 things that I hate that are really common. One is timeout. One is diversion. Look over here, because you never divert with broccoli. You always divert with something good. So in other words, they act out, then they get a reward, right? The worst one is the countdown. When they're doing something naughty, like let's say they're hitting their little sister, and then you say, I'm going to count to 3 and you better stop. And they keep hitting harder and harder. They got 3 counts to keep hitting. And then you say 3 and they go like that, break. Where's the consequence? What have they learned? All I have to do is beat the pulp out of her for 3 counts, and then there's no punishment. So you're teaching them it's okay to be rotten in the short term, just not in the long term. There's no lesson there at all. It's useless. That's my least favorite one. And then diversion is second least, and then the timeout is my third least. So the worst one is the countdown. I don't know how to word that. I hate them all, but it's timeout is bad, then diversion is worse, and then countdown is the worst. How would you word that? Is there a better way of doing that? I don't know. Okay. I love how straightforward you are. This is, I don't have a filter. I have no control over what I say. But then I figure I'm not a bad person, so I'm never going to say anything really stupid, hopefully. My daughter, I lead with my heart. My daughter leads with her head. She's got a great heart, but she thinks before she talks. I don't have that. Never did. Luckily, I've got enough of a filter. I don't say something inappropriate or rude. But yeah, let it fly. So what would help then? Try out my free behavior board. Look it up on my website. It's called BratBusters.com. And it teaches you, if you're 3 years old and over, you use the behavior board. There's rules and consequences for everybody in the family, 3 and over, you included. If you're not on there, you're not a leader. Leaders are accountable because you're teaching through example, right? You got to show them that you're also accountable. If they're under 3, you use consistent corrective actions. That is, every single time they do, you pick a battle though, you pick one battle that you're going to deal with. So every time they do that naughty behavior, you say no, and then you remove them from the fun or remove fun from them. So and you do some, basically you're doing something negative. They will equate that bad behavior with something negative happening. It's all mentioned. It's all explained on the behavior board. That's free. Or you can look into my courses. It goes behavior board free, courses money, and then coaching it's expensive. And I'm full anyway. I can't take anyone on right now. You'll see it's explained on the website. What happened was I doubled my prices to lower the wait list, and the wait list doubled. That backfired. I was even talking to my son about it. He doesn't work with me, but I was talking to him. I said, what do I do? I don't know how to manage that. So we had to shut it down. Anyway, I was finding it very stressful because I'm in the caring field. And when people are asking to hire you, they already know what's involved, and they're asking to hire you and you can't do it. It's very stressful. I'm trying to get over that. Yeah, it's tough. And by the way, I do, the problem is too, that I would say about 40% of my clients keep rehiring me because they want that accountability and just, they call it mothering. They want the mothering, on an ongoing basis. So that holds up. I can't take on new people. Also, I also deal with crisis work. I specialize in teen crisis. So, or any crisis. And if that's the case, you can send me an email. And a crisis is not a toddler driving you nuts. It's like more the life and death stuff. So if you are in crisis, you can email me separately. And if I have a spot, if I have an opening, you'll be priority after my existing clients. But you have to email me. Don't go on the website or anything to do that. Are you a unit teacher? No, not at all. No. I'm just a mother and a grandmother. I started, I thought I was going to be a child psychologist, but they kicked me out because I asked too many questions. This was 40 years ago. And I was asking, it was so patronizing what they were teaching, trying to outsmart kids. And it was just patronizing. And I hated it. Thank God I never did it because I would have been under that umbrella. And I'm sure they're better now, but this was 40 years ago. It was very patronizing. And I knew it wasn't for me. So, and then I never worked with kids. I just volunteered with kids for 40, 50 years. And that's where I learned. They taught me all this. And then the teenagers that I specialize in troubled teens. And they said, good, teach this stuff, Lisa. He says, no one's ever talked to us like you do. So still took me years I didn't know I was ever going to teach this. I was just a mom and I did office work and fitness training, and never in a million years would I ever thought, what the heck is a parenting coach? So, yeah. I'm in Canada, Vancouver, Canada. Someone asked what state I'm in. I'm Canadian. We all used to be friends. I think we still are, but now we're being told we can't travel to the United States because people are being held there in detention centers for no apparent reason, not even being told why. It's all this political war thing going on, so we're all afraid to go down there now. What a shame, eh? It's sad, because aren't we friends? Aren't we? I just don't get it. Anyway. Okay. I don't know. Oh, okay. I don't know how to send your videos to my employer without them getting offended. Never, ever, ever do that. I just did a video on that. Boy, it was a big one too last week. It was about grandparents giving unsolicited advice. And I did a podcast on it too. I think it came out. I'm not sure. Anyway, I started the podcast with I'm a grandparent. How do I give advice to my kids on their parenting? And I say, well, you shut up. It's none of your damn business. It's none of your business how other people parent. Do not interfere. Do not give unsolicited advice. If you had an overweight friend, would you send them a diet video? It's the same thing. They don't want to hear it. It's unsolicited. You're soliciting my advice. My clients are soliciting my advice. I do not tell my son and his wife how to parent. It's none of my business. It's their child. None of my business. Why would I do that? Why would I hurt their feelings? Why on earth would I? It's criticism. Unsolicited advice is nothing but criticism. Oh, but I meant well. Nobody gives a crap about your intentions. It's criticism. So yeah, never tell someone else how to parent. You're soliciting my advice as a parenting coach. That's why. Like I would never tell a friend or my kids how to parent ever, or how to live their life or anything. That's just bossiness. Don't do it. Boy, I got a lot of hate from grandparents. You know, it was funny though. One of them said she sends her son, who's a parent, she sends him my videos all the time. He's never responded to one of them, except she did send him that grandparents interfering one. It's the only one. And I think he answered back LOL. It's the only one he's ever answered. In other words, that's right. Leave us alone. Quit criticizing us. And if they love hearing it, and if they're telling you and asking your advice, that's solicited advice. That's different. That video is about unsolicited. Like if a friend I knew asked me, and they were overweight, I'm into fitness and health. If they asked me fitness and health advice, I might give them some. I would never offer it unless they asked, because that's an insult. In other words, you should get fitter and lose some weight. That's what I would be saying. You see? It's passive aggressive. I'm the nanny and I deal with the kid. Don't say a word. Nope. If they ask your advice, you can say, well, I follow this person, but they have to ask. Then it's solicited. They want it. There's a big difference. I'm an elementary principal and have a 2-year-old. Your videos have been my saving grace and your strategies work. Yeah, thanks very much. A huge portion of my clients are teachers, principals, and child psychologists. I couldn't do their jobs, and they're very different from what I do. And they struggle with parenting because they're very different. One's a business, one's personal, home-based. It's just different. Like some principals have said to me, how can I manage 1,200 students, but I can't handle my own one, my own one kid? Personal, business, it's different. How do I get my son to use his words instead of having a meltdown? He's going to be 4. I don't talk like that. Those are his words. A meltdown, a tantrum, a fit is his words. Don't do that. Use your words. I hate that. I can't stand it. You know, that advice. And I've never looked at anybody else who teaches parenting. Clients have told me this stuff. And they say there's this thing where you get down on their level and you say, use your words. What a patronizing, snotty thing to say to a kid. He is using his words. He's having a fit because you're not a leader and he's mad. He is using his words. So set yourself up as a leader and he will start to use his words or your words. My kids always act better for others. I'm their safe space. So was I, but my kids are wonderful with me and other people. I don't know what your point is there. Said your youngest is 4 and really starting to push boundaries. Usually at 3, well, around 3, but no, not usually younger. 3 is a real fork in the road. If you're a leader, they get easier. If you're not a leader, they get worse. Because that's when if they have that in them, right? That's that fork in the road where they stop and think and they go, wait a minute, you don't know what you're doing. I think I'll take control. So you might just you got 5 kids, you said, this might just be the feistier one. They're not all feisty. Some of them just aren't. My daughter didn't have it in her at all. My son, I don't know. You know, he did have tantrums, but he was actually quite an easy kid. He wasn't super active or precocious or anything. But he grew out of tantrums. I think 3.5. 3 was his last one with me, I think. And his dad was 3.5. He had one with his dad. But yeah, he grew out of them because they didn't get him very far with us. So, but yeah. Maybe you just got to work on your leadership. I don't know. Might be a dumb question. What are key points to show you're the leader? I focus more on connecting with kids. And the pool story is a really good example of everything I teach. It sort of sums it all up. If you look up, just Google BratBusters pool story. And it's a true story. I dealt with this kid who did something naughty. And I do deal with bad behavior, but then I focus on the good kid. That's what a leader does. A leader knows how to bring out the best in people. You know how to make them feel good about themselves, but you don't take any crap. But you know how to bring out the best. My goal was always that kids like themselves when they're with me. If they feel shame or embarrassment, I'm just a bully. I don't like that. I think that's nasty. I want them to feel good about themselves, but I want them to be accountable. So if my kids made a mistake, they wouldn't be embarrassed. They'd just say, oh, I messed up. How about no TV tonight? I'd say, oh, that's too much. Just get the brush and brush my hair for 5 minutes. That was pretty much all it was. There was no anger or anything. And making mistakes is okay because I made a lot of them. So, and I was accountable too. I often tell that story. I remember this one particular time. I hate cooking. Anyway, and I made only healthy stuff. I cooked from scratch. I hated it. And people would say, oh, you'll learn to love it one day. That's just people who have their head set in their own likes. Like, I just never liked it, never will, never did. So, but I did it because I love healthy food and I made everything from scratch. Anyway, and I used to make these muffins. They weren't too bad. I threw some cocoa and a little bit of sugar in there, but they're mostly healthy. So my kid said, can you please make muffins tonight? And I said, sure, I will. And I forgot. So the next day, my son, he was 8, my daughter was 3. So the next day, my son said, Mom, you forgot to make those muffins last night. And I said, oh, shoot, right. Okay. I promise I'll make them tonight. As soon as I said that, here, I'm setting myself up, right? As soon as I said that, they looked at each other like this because they knew I'd probably forget. And I said, I'm not going to forget. And they went, okay. So anyway, they went to bed. The next morning they got up and they came in the kitchen together. She's only 3. She comes in like this. And my son's like this. So I knew I was in trouble. I didn't know what it was right away. But anyway, so my son says, Mom, remember last night you promised you were going to make muffins? I don't see no muffins. I said, drats, what do you want? And he says, we decided we'd like to go to the water slide park after school today. So that's where I took them. So yeah, when I was in trouble, I made amends. I'm accountable too. Leaders are humble, vulnerable, and accountable. It's not about being tough. It's about being humble and vulnerable. I was very vulnerable with my kids, probably more so than anyone else. Yeah, you want to be vulnerable with kids. Like, I messed up. So, but yeah, they love that. No, my daughter was a sidekick rating. She loved that. They were adorable. Oh, do we ignore tantrums if they wake up with a tantrum from a nap? If they've got that, they just don't wake up. They wake up on the wrong side. I might sit with a book and read and they can join in. But usually it takes them a while to wake up. It evidently has to do with your body temperature or something. I don't know. My daughter didn't wake up cranky. My son would the odd time. But then he also had tantrums when he was little. It's a temperament. He went into that kind of angry temperament a little bit easier, right? And that's what that is. But yeah, so he just didn't always wake up that great. So I would just either sit him on the couch, I might put a show on for him, or I might sit and read, and then he'd kind of curl up and then we'd read together for a while. Then he'd wake up and he was fine. Oh. How to handle kids who test your patience. That's on you, not the kids. We're not fixing kids. We're fixing you and teaching you. Have patience. That's your job, to not get upset at stuff like that. They're just fishing, trying to pull you in because they know that they can get you angry. If they can never get you angry, they stop doing it. I often use this saying, I forgot what it was. You can't fight a calm, loving person forever. If you're calm and loving, they're going to stop fighting you. They just do. They just give up. You can't fight a calm, loving person forever. And believe me, if I'm disciplining, my son, he had a friend over once, and they were about 5. And his friend it was someone I didn't know, like we just met this kid, at school or something. So we never had him over again. He was destructive and he was real trouble. So he said, "Oh, your mom's going to yell at me now." Like he was just trying to get in trouble away. And my son, I could hear my son say, "No, my mom doesn't yell, but if she whispers, run." Because if I'm disciplining, I get real quiet. I say, "I'll tell you what we're going to do." That's how I talk when I'm disciplining. How should grandparent discipline their grandkids? Well, I can't answer that because it depends on what the parents do. I'm a grandmother. It depends on the parents, but when you've got them at your house, your rules go, I say. That's sort of, because it is your place. So, and if you're trusted to babysit, then they're not going to question you anyway, usually. So, but yeah. But I'm very aware that my granddaughter is not mine. And I'm very respectful of her parents. So far, I don't see any difference in how probably we'll react to her. But if there ever was something where I think that I would like to do something and I knew they wouldn't want it done, like if they ever said to me, "We don't want to ignore tantrums," then I wouldn't. To be honest, I would respect this. They're a kid. So yeah, she's not mine. Is your son or daughter's kid? It's my son's. He's 35. My daughter's 30. She works with me. She hasn't got kids yet. But yeah, it's my son's little girl. So I daycare her 1 day a week, and I'm with her for, I think, about 10 hours it works out to be. And it's great on a sunny day. I get out there. I'm talking to everyone. I've got her at the park, the library, the field, the markets. Got her all over the place. It's a riot. On a rainy day, it's harder. I don't have a car that I can get her car seat into, so I might actually get a different vehicle. Might get like a RAV4 or something. Nice, big car to throw her car seat into. I don't know yet, but this is, what do you think about a 2-year-old still using a passy? So that's a passy's a dummy, a pacifier, soother, whatever you want to call it. I don't have an opinion on that. That's your choice. Like that would be more of a doctor question because it has to do with their palate, their teeth, and all that stuff. So yeah, I got my son off it at 18 months old, and the only reason I wanted to get him off sooner, he was addicted to it. But it was just sort of hanging there. It's not like he was sucking on it. It was just hanging there like a cigar. And so we were living in Australia. That's where my kids were born and raised. And we were visiting my family in Canada. And it's a 24-hour trip with a stopover, et cetera. And I thought we were going to go when he was 18 months old. And I thought there's no freaking way I'm going to go on that 24-hour trip without a dummy that I could shove in his gob, right? So the day after we got home, my husband went off to work, and my son and I were home alone. And we're both like jet lagged, which is like having a hangover. And I thought, okay, we're home now. I'm taking the dummies away. So I had him help me. We collected them all. I made a big show out of it. You're a big boy now. We're going to put all these, and we put them in a little baggie and whatever, put a twist tie. We didn't have Ziploc bags at the time, I don't think. He's 35 now. Anyway, so I had him hold the little bag. And then I said, you hold that. And I carried him out to the garage, and I opened up the big lid to the wheelie bin. And I said, throw them in. Bye-bye. No more dummies. And I thought, what am I doing to myself? I've got jet lag, and he's going to have tantrums. It's going to be a nightmare. Anyway, but then I also bought him something to replace it with. I bought him these little sippy cups with a straw, whatever's safe. You can try something, whatever's safe. Anyway, and I bought something new for him to have sort of in his mouth. And so we were outside all day because it was hot. So we were outside all day, and I got these little sippy cups. He would sip on that a lot. But then whenever he'd go like this, like he was looking for his dummy, and he'd look at me, and I'd look away really fast. There was no way I was going to get eye contact with him when he was looking for that dummy. He never asked for it once, not once. I couldn't believe it. So I lucked out. Normally, I would have expected him to have a fit. But then I thought, was it ever that big a deal to him? Like, why did I drag it out for 18 months? Anyway, stupid. I did a couple of stupid things with him. Another one was, that was one of them. I probably could have taken the dummy away at 6 months. He probably wouldn't have cared, but I didn't know. Anyway, another dumb thing I did was he didn't like to eat a lot. He wasn't a big eater. He was one of those kids that would eat till he's full and barely, or didn't even care about food sometimes. So, and he wasn't underweight or anything. But anyway, So I thought, well, I'm just not happy with, he was about 18 months old. That's when they often get fussy and they stop eating everything that you give them. And so I thought, well, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to not give him what he wants. He wanted a lot of pasta and cheese and stuff like that. He didn't want vegetables and fruit. So I thought, okay, well, I'm just going to offer him hardly any of what he loves and then a lot of fruit and vegetables. So, and he barely ate anything, and I couldn't figure out how was he surviving for a whole day without eating? Or maybe it went into 2 days or something. He was literally hardly eating. He had lots of energy. He looked happy. Do you know what I was doing? I was giving him tons and tons of milk. Milk is liquid food. I was filling him up on milk. So anyway, stupid me. And I thought, oh, duh. I clued in finally. And I thought, oh, how stupid. I cut back on the milk and he started eating more fruits and vegetables. Anyway, dumb me. Live and learn. Okay, actually, I have to get going. I've got a lot of emails to answer tonight because I do all my scheduling for the week. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. If you want to know more, you can check out my website. You can see my free behavior board, my courses, my coaching, and the podcast. My daughter and I do it together. We do 2 a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I'm just, coaching is a real problem right now for me. The intake form is, we have to shut it down. It's just, I can't handle the demand for it. So we're trying to figure out what to do. We just had to shut it down. So I'm the only one that can coach because it's my information. So anyway, we're kind of struggling with that right now. We'll figure it out. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me and we'll talk again soon. Bye now.